I am here with Jena Bishop, who will be fighting Dakota Dacheva at PFL Nashville August 2nd. The PFL playoffs, women's flyweight division. We'll get the cliche question out of the way first. Just how's everything feeling ahead of this one? How's camp been?
It's been good. I mean, this whole year has been camp, so I just, keep training, stay with it. Yeah, feeling good.
Is that a nice situation to find yourself in that you keep going into camps and kind of get a flow, or does it become too much and you feel you need a break?
I'm at the point where I'm like, it would be nice to have like a week off. Like, I don't ever really take time off, so it's not that bad. I think, there's a lot of benefits to doing that, like just keep going through and through and through, because it's like it's not like the physical nature of it that's not that bad. I enjoy that stress and that strain, but it's like the mental, like just I love training, and training is so much fun, but like when you're training and you have to be on and you have to be like winning and doing all the right things, then that makes it a little bit stressful. So I would like a little downtime from that, but I'm also like, it is what it is. Let's keep going because I'm happy to be fighting.
Well, if all goes well at this one, maybe you'll be able to take a week off after because there's a little bit of a buffer before the
Yeah.
final. Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the mental side of things just a little, and I'm wondering. Obviously, you come from a BJJ background. Obviously, tournaments there are a big deal. Sometimes they're one night tournaments, so a little bit different than the PFL format. But on the
Mhm.
mental side of things, do you take any boost in confidence from being through those competitions, or are they kind of night and day the way the tournaments run?
I mean, I guess the similarities of the with jujitsu, it's just that I'm used to just there's no off time. There's no like off season. There's always something coming up. And the tournaments are different because it's like, you're preparing to fight all the same people. You're preparing for that one tournament. So it's not really like the same thing as this. And you'll have your bracket set out ahead of time. So, I mean, it's like a week ahead of your tournament. So you'll know exactly who you're fighting and basically how that's going to get potentially matched up going through. So there's some differences and some things, but I don't know. I think for me, it's definitely been helpful just to always be in that state of we're just getting ready for the next thing, or just be staying ready and making sure that I'm always improving.
Well, I am curious, which do you find to be more stressful of the two? Or because this is the newer in terms of your career, is this a little more stressful?
I think jujitsu is more stressful. Like
Okay.
it's weird. Like I get more nervous for jujitsu matches or tournaments. It's a weird thing because it's like you trained so hard for that tournament, and it only happens like the big ones. It's like you really want to win the worlds and you really want to win Pan Ams, and that only comes around once a year. So it's like there's a lot of other things, but the ones that you're really that are really important to you, those ones you only get one shot at. And so it's like if you don't perform good from the start, it's like you're done. It's like you get one opportunity and it can be over in a second. And then all that hard work is just feels like wasted. So there's a lot more, I don't know, I get more anxiety and more stress for jujitsu and then than I do MMA. It's weird.
Interesting. I'm not going to lie. I figured with the added factor of being punched in the face at MMA, it might be a little more stressful. But um, you now are in kind of a sudden death situation, though, in the PFL tournament, of course. It's win and move on at this point. And last time out, you had Taylor Santos. Didn't go your way. I am curious about that because it was your first MMA loss. First of all, did you think you had done enough to win the decision in that close fight? It turned into a split. And just what were your takeaways from it overall?
I mean, I definitely thought that I had done enough to win the fight. But to me, it's such a weird feeling because it was almost like that fight didn't even matter because like whatever had happened, it's same results for me going forward in this tournament. So I don't know. And it just kind of gave me a little bit more confidence, like that, hopefully I can get that back and I'll see her in the finals. But it just, yeah, like, I don't know. It was such a weird feeling like to after that fight because it's just like, yeah, it felt like I got to do things and prove to myself some things, because there was some other like stuff happening, but it really gave me a lot of confidence, that loss, because I was like, it's a split decision, and I don't really feel like it was a loss for me, but it also, yeah, like I still get to go. And then things kind of worked out best case scenario after that. So I'm happy with like the matchups and everything going forward. So yeah, I'm a little indifferent or kind of happy.
Fair enough. You touched on something I was going to ask later. I'll just get to it now. Then you mentioned you might see her down the line. Obviously, Talia is fighting Liz Carmouche. How do you see that one going? And would you prefer to see her just for the chance to get that one back?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it'll be a good scrap between her and Carmouche, but I think I'm kind of rooting for her to win, because I do want to have the opportunity to get that back.
That's fair. No, no question there. And as far as your own fight, obviously, before we get to it, you mentioned we've talked about the matchmaking and the seeding and whatnot now, but I know during the regular season, yourself, Angela Hill, some other fighters were fairly critical of how the matchmaking was done. So I am curious if you did feel Dakota got the easy path into the finals, and what you think they could do in terms of, I guess, transparency during the regular season to make the matchmaking a little more clear.
I mean, I still don't know why or what the reasoning behind any of the matchmaking is. So that would be a great start. It's just to explain like what is going on. But to me, it seems like we have our favorites, we have the people, and I think this year, because there's a little bit more eyes on this tournament because of the merger with Bellator and everything. There's a lot of people that are like, yeah, it's been like that since ever since, and nobody understands their matchups and their things the way that it goes. So it would just, I think the first thing is just to be like, can we have an explanation? And also, if you want to say it's a season and it's a tournament, then like you should kind of have the matchup set like for the first two fights of the season. It's like maybe start off by announcing the whole season schedule or something. I don't know. I don't know what they can do. Again, like I'm not like a huge fan of the whole season and tournament like thing in general, because to me it doesn't really make it's more confusing than it is like helping to elevate the sport, because I think the people are super into MMA are like, what's even going on? So not like, and I'm not saying that like trying to criticize the whole thing. It's just like, I don't know that it's adding anything to the sport of MMA to make it more palatable for like the general like public, or the non-fan. But that's just my opinion.
Obviously the UFC started with the tournament format. Strikeforce had the heavyweight Grand Prix. Bellator had their Grand Prix. Obviously, both were Scott Coker driven,
Mhm.
although the early Bellator season's not. But I'm wondering if you feel that the PFL doing it constantly kind of takes away from the specialness of the tournaments.
Oh, for sure. Like, yeah, like when Bellator does their tournaments, it's kind of cool. And they have it seated and started the whole, like you start out the same way that most tournaments are ran. That's how Bellator would do that. So it's like, you're gonna know, and you could look ahead and see like, ooh, they might fight this person, like the points, and then the season, and then the playoffs. It gets a little bit convoluted, a little confusing, I think. But the tournament style is kind of fun to watch, and you see it play out throughout the year. It's not just like one, like, yeah, like a really short burst. You have a long time between it. It's kind of fun, and I think that does add like a little bit more value to it. And then yeah, doing it because it's a little bit weird. It's like you win a title, you win a championship, but then immediately that you're not the champion anymore. You have to go back into, it's like there's no defenses of the title, or what does it even mean to be a champion? There, because it's like that goes away next year, and then you have to fight. You're not defending your title. You're just fighting in a regular season again. It's kind of weird.
And I will say this though, for the people who have done it twice, and Olivier Aubin Mercier comes to mind, and Ray Cooper, I guess it is the argument. Hey, I had to battle it all the way back just to defend the title. But you're right. There's no title defenses in between. This is going to take us to Dakota Dacheva because she is the next step in the immediate future for you. Are we oversimplifying it when we say this is striker versus grappler?
Maybe, probably not, but maybe.
Is that, I mean, it seems like the obvious path to victory is to truly test her in the ground. And if there's anyone who's going
Yeah.
to do that, I'm going to say it's going to be you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's obviously what I want to do. But I'm also pretty gaining a lot of confidence in my hands, but I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like like this striker. Like that's not my number one like skill set. But I also feel like I'm pretty confident there.
So with that in mind, I mean, what are your thoughts on her grappling game, her defense, what you've seen from her so far?
I don't know. I haven't really seen anything of it.
It hasn't been super tested. So I guess is that almost more difficult to prepare for when you've got a question mark like that?
No, because when I'm preparing, I'm not really like focused on, I'm really just focused on being the best version of myself. Like, I don't stress out too much about overthinking what they're doing or what she's good at and this and that. It's like, of course, I'm going to be ready for those things and we're going to prepare for certain things. But I know that if I'm the best version of me, like, that's pretty unstoppable.
Well, you've definitely shown that. Obviously, starting the career going 7-0. I do wish you the best of luck going to that final. There is so much on the line. It's not just the title. There is the money as well. Obviously, a nice little paycheck at the end of the day that you don't see
Mhm.
often in the sport. So I will
Yeah.
ask you the super simple, silly question. If you win $1 million, what's the first thing you buy?
Well, $1 million doesn't go too far in California. I'll say that. But like half of that's already gone because that's going to the government, my coaches, everything else. So it doesn't leave me with too much. But I don't know. I think I said this in one of my first after my first fight with the PFL. I really want a vintage Bronco to match my new one. So that's the goal.
Love it. Well, that's a good one. Jenna, thank you very much for the time today. Best of luck in the fight. Looking forward to it. August 2nd, Nashville, Tennessee. The PFL playoffs get underway, and we'll be watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenna. You have a great day.
You too.